Test 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Greg, can you give me a count?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
There you go.
2.
You're good. Thank you.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
You just waiting for David to call?
Yep.
Check out Havana Cabana Hotel, Key West, online. Tell me what you think.
I feel like I've seen that hotel.
Let me know what you think. I paid $246 a night, 3 nights, for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then there's resort fees. Then there's taxes. Comes out to $906. But I looked at Trivago. I can get the same room on Trivago for $511. But I don't like using third-party sites. I don't trust them, man. Every time you go to the hotel, oh, you booked through a third-party site, we can't help you. You have any problems, you got to go to Trivago. You can't get anything from those people because they're just a booking site. So I don't know. I have 72 hours to cancel it and rebook it on Trivago if I want to. It would save me $400. But
Sometimes that $400 is peace of mind.
Well, it is kind of peace of mind. And also I found out on Trivago, she said they buy blocks of rooms. That's why they do those deals. She goes, but you're right. You get to the hotel. She goes, you don't get any of the extras you're getting. I said, what am I getting? She goes, well, you're not paying the resort fee with Trivago. So that means you don't get the afternoon pool party. You don't get the free mojitos. You don't get the bottle of rum when you check in. You don't get the free dinners and hors d'oeuvres at the pool. You don't get anything. You get your room. You got to pay for your shuttles. None of that's included. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll stay on it. You know what I mean? up. AC is staying on. It's too damn hot. I'll see if I can suffer through it.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by the National Rifle Association from the 6 Hour Studios on the Patriot Mobile Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Welcome inside the 6 Hour Studios with me, ladies and gentlemen. Today is your daily dose of freedom. It is 4 p.m. on the East Coast, 1 p.m. on the West Coast. 6 minutes after the hour, depending on what time you're listening to the program today. That never changes. Those minutes never change. Welcome inside the 6 Hour Studios with me, Mark Walters, in front of the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone. It's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. I'll put that link up for you so you can join. And I have a big announcement on a promotion coming up with the NRA. Spoke to them today. We'll be announcing it next week, but it's a big one. You're going to want to participate, I promise, because you get something free. And something really cool that's free. In addition to that, there's going to be a grand prize winner that wins an additional free thing filled with all kinds of cool stuff from our sponsors. So it's pretty nice. I'll put it that way. We are on Facebook Live at facebook.com/Armed American Radio. Greg in Dallas, Texas. Welcome in, my brother, down in Dallas, Tejas. And you can tell people where to go and watch and participate in the chat. We'll go with David Codrea. Lots to cover.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters over there. Or over at X, it's at AAR Mark. You can head on over to armedamericanradio.org.com as well. Hit that menu icon and select your Watch Live option. If you're driving, hit that Listen Live link. And if you'd like to join our live chats, just head on over to your app store, grab the Telegram messaging app, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
That'll do it. David Codrea, waronguns.com, the clearinghouse. How you doing, my brother? Welcome back. Welcome home. Welcome back before you leave again. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, I seem to be going in and out. Life is real busy for me these days. It's going to be that way probably till about mid-July or so, but in a very good way. You know what? I got to tell you something. There's something to be said for having more to do than you know what to do with, particularly when you love doing it all. And I'm sitting here. It's a beautiful day. I'm under a shade tree, even though it's a little warm out today.
Yeah.
It's pretty good in the shade, and I'm talking to my friend here on Armed American Radio, and let's talk about whatever you want to talk about.
What kind of cigar are you smoking?
Oh, this is just a little shorty Cuba Libre.
But I knew
okay,
it.
nothing expensive, but it's good. It's a good little afternoon, kill an hour on the radio type cigar.
There's no such thing as an inexpensive cigar anymore, David. You know that.
There you go.
I can remember when good daily smoke cigars were cheap. They're not anymore. That's $5-6 if you're lucky at this point. And
well, it's not a King Edward, if that's what you're saying.
King Edwards. You'd be better off chewing Red Man. You know what I mean? I actually found a bag of Red Man tobacco, chewing tobacco. Now, I used to love that stuff when I was in college in the summers, when I was bush hogging during the summers on breaks. And, they got all politically correct, and it's no longer Red Man, right? And I actually found a bag of Red Man with the Indian on it and everything, and I bought it for that very reason. I keep it over here in the studio. Maybe during a break I'll hold that up, because that's kind of something you want to have. I don't know how fresh that stuff would be, because they changed that logo a long time ago. Well, I don't know. Maybe just during the Biden years, but whatever. It's kind of interesting. And even that price had gone up big time from what I remember, but it just kind of is what it is. All right, so Pam Bondi has been being grilled in Washington over the last few days, and we're going to spend the hour talking about that. And that's not going to be enough time, David, because there's a lot to unpack. And my job is to ask the questions. I know I'm going to get the answers from you, and I'll throw my opinion in for whatever it's worth, but I'll start with this. What this is about, what she's been being grilled about for the most part, that matters to us anyway, is this DEA, this proposed DOJ, DEA, ATF merger. I'm going to preface it with this. We shouldn't even have an ATF. The ATF should be out of here. We shouldn't be merging it with anything except a garbage can. So correct me if I'm wrong as we get out of the box on the discussion today.
You're not going to get a disagreement from me.
I didn't think so. And that I figured the answer would be that short. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's at stake? Gun Owners of America, David, you wrote about this. GOA has put out a fascinating, I guess I'll call it a list of talking points, David. But they wrote, a letter to the Honorable Pam J. Bondi, AG. We, the undersigned signatories, represent the GOA, Gun Owners Foundation. Together, these organizations represent millions of gun owners across the country advocating for the protection and preservation of the enumerated right to keep and bear arms. We write today on behalf of millions of gun owners across America who have grave concerns with the recent U.S. Department of Justice proposal to combine the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Expletives, I call it, with the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, because this merger would seem to be counterproductive to the president's agenda and, in fact, almost certainly harmful to law-abiding gun owners. We urge you to consider abandoning this proposal and continuing to operate ATF as a standalone agency of narrow purpose and limited resource until such time as all unconstitutional federal gun laws are repealed and the ATF can be abolished. Now, they go into more specifics about that, but then they give 12 reasons why an ATF DEA merger is a Trojan horse for gun control, and these are absolutely fantastic. But let's just start with what you heard there from the GOA. Agreement, disagreement, thoughts, expand on it?
Yeah, before I expand on it, I do want to say one positive thing. Imagine us having this conversation 10 years ago, that there was a DOJ that we could even approach on the Second Amendment with a thought that we might be able to influence the way that it was going to go down. So that in itself is a real sea change that we have right now. But that said, I've written about this for years, Mark. First, I wrote about it, I believe it was in Guns Magazine. I wrote an article called The Devil You Know, when the proposal was to merge ATF with the FBI. And my basic thought there was very similar to a lot of what GOA has outlined on a DEA merger. It would bury them into a bigger organization that was more adept at being able to bury what they were doing, to hide what they were doing, to protect what they were doing, and to continue doing it and to worsen what they were doing. And therefore, we know the devil of the ATF, we know the devil of the FBI, but to hide one inside the other is going to do no one any good who cares about the right to keep and bear arms. And GOA is exactly right. And GOA is exactly, I believe, isn't CCRKBA part of that coalition?
Yeah, and what's interesting about this, because I was actually talking with Alan Gottlieb. He was the one that originally forwarded this to me. And I say we were talking, we were texting back and forth, but nothing of any specific other than this information. But I want to start with, you say the devil, we know the devil of the ATF, of what the ATF is. We know the devil of the FBI. There's another positive here. I don't have any fear of a weaponized FBI or a weaponized ATF under this current administration. I want to make that clear. But that's not good enough, because this administration is not going to live my lifetime. This administration is finite. This administration has an end date to it, and we already know what that end date is. And we don't know how the end date is going to turn out. Will it be another 4 to 8 years of this? We don't know. What happens if it's not? We go right back to the devil ATF and the devil FBI in the context of the way the Gun Owners of America phrased it. And I'll repeat, having heard that, because this merger would seem to be counterproductive to the president's agenda and, in fact, almost certainly harmful to law-abiding gun owners, we urge you to consider abandoning this proposal and continuing to operate ATF as a standalone agency of narrow purpose and limited resource until such time as all unconstitutional federal gun laws are repealed and the ATF can be abolished. Now, let's talk about why that's so important. Greg, I know we're going to take a break here, and I wasn't watching the clock. How much time do we have?
Over a minute.
Over a minute, so let's get started. Now, David, when we talk about the reason this is so important, the ATF and standalone agency, until such time as all unconstitutional federal gun laws are repealed, why is that so critical?
Well, this is kind of what I was referring to when we couldn't have had this conversation a few years ago. The reason it's important is because ATF is going to continue because there's a Congress that wouldn't allow just by executive fiat to have the thing disbanded, and so we need to continue to pursue the victory of the redefinition of the Second Amendment
30.
adjudication that the Bruin case gave us, to where we needed to go to text, history, and tradition instead of some standard like medium scrutiny or intermediate scrutiny or something like that. ATF is going to be around. We have to face that fact. We just can't wave a magic wand and make it happen. So until such time as enough gun laws are repealed, knock on wood, if we can never see it in our lifetime, we're going to have ATF with us, so we don't want to make it stronger and bigger and better hidden.
No, and when we come back, I'll expand on that just a little bit because it bears a little bit of repeating here. But this is a critical conversation. We're going to have it today. We're going to go through the 12 reasons the Gun Owners of America gives us, and they're all great. And I think you'll appreciate the conversation today. We'll be back with David Codrea right after the break. Don't go away. Guys, it gets hot in the studio. It's probably hot where you are, too. That's because it's coming up on July and it's summertime. Have no fear. It is funny how hot it gets in here as fast as it does when that AC is shut down. Wow. I'm going to keep that Arctic air on. There's not too bad. Guys, we'll be back at you in a couple minutes.
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. And you can use that activation code to get your phone switched over to Patriot Mobile, as I've been telling you about for quite some time and will continue to tell you about. Give your money to companies that support you. Patriot Mobile supports what we're talking about here today and does it vocally. They talk about it. They attend the meetings. They were at the Women's March on D.C. just a couple days ago. We're going to have a couple reps from them coming up on Sunday's broadcast. Patriot Mobile was there sponsoring it. I mean, they fight for your Second Amendment rights. They put their money on the table. You can join them. It's real easy to do. patriotmobile.com/AAR. And you can visit all of our great partners, including Heaven's Harvest, for the food stuff over there is outrageously good. It's inexpensive. And I promise you'll sleep easier at night knowing that you have a little bit of a stash like I do. HeavensHarvest.com. You can also stack your ammo at ammosquared.com. And you'll be hearing from all these partners in that NRA promotion we're going to be doing here in the next few days. Give me till early next week when we kick that off for you officially. Welcome back inside the 6 Hour Studios with me. We're talking with, of course, David Codrea. War on Guns is the clearinghouse for everything he does. You can catch him on Ammo Land, Guns Magazine, just about everywhere else. David Codrea, welcome back. Let me finish my thought on why that statement from the Gun Owners of America is so important when it comes to, yeah, you're right. The ATF isn't going anywhere right now. We're stuck with them. But the fact of the matter is that we kind of, as long as we're stuck with them now, we've got to get rid of what they stand on that allows them to be weaponized against us. And that's what the GOA is talking about here. All unconstitutional federal gun laws and the regulatory control of the ATF that allows them to come after us because those laws are still on the books. Now, I don't fear that under Donald Trump's administration. But as my dad would say, and you've met my dad, you know, you probably hear my dad saying this. You think another Democrat administration is going to flip-flop on that if those rules and regulations and gun laws are still on the books? My dad would say, you bet your bippy they will. And they will, which is why GOA is spot on. I'll let you comment on that, and then I'll go to the reason number one, which is critical.
Yeah, that's a very important point. You know, we see these gains that are being made right now, and a lot of gun owners are cheering them on appropriately. But what's lost in all the cheering is the fact that, you know, a lot of this stuff through executive orders is reversible. Okay, and so what powers you assign today, the Democrats are going to have to use against you tomorrow, and they're going to be able to make great use of that if you just take a look at their agenda, which is, you know, essentially citizen disarmament and a monopoly of violence.
Yeah, not only that, they're going to be pissed off in the process, and they're going to do it with a vengeance. They're going to feel like they have 4 years to catch up on, and they will use it against you. Reason number one, conflating gun ownership with drug crimes would taint the Second Amendment with an appearance of criminality. I love this. It would seem that those who proposed this ATF DEA merger did not fully consider the optics it would create. The Second Amendment protects the natural right of self-defense by guaranteeing the people access to arms. Unfortunately, ATF exists to regulate aspects of that enumerated right. Thus, ATF's very subject matter is a constitutionally protected industry. Contrast ATF's regulation of a constitutional right with the mission of the DEA. The DEA exists to combat the spread of illegal drugs, which have no claim of constitutional protection and, in fact, are deemed contraband. Federal officials tasked with taking down violent drug cartels should not be enforcing the complex nuances of gun laws against American gun owners and federal firearms licensees. Placing enforcement of drugs and guns within the same agency risks tainting the innocuous exercise of a constitutional right with the appearance of illegality in the popular mind. Perhaps there is a reason why governments don't task the issuance of parade permits to the same agency that investigates domestic terrorism. Constitutional rights and criminal activity are best kept separate. Part of what Pam Bondi said in that hearing is, I think we all agree, drugs and guns do not go together. Then why are you putting them together? I don't have an answer to that, Ms. Bondi. She didn't answer that, and the Democrats cut her off. But doesn't that kind of fly in the face? I understand what she was saying. But this blows it right out of the water, David.
No doubt about it. Trying to conflate lawful gun ownership, I should say peaceable gun ownership. I believe in peaceable gun ownership, not necessarily lawful, because I've been known to cross the line myself on occasion.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly right. But it does go to a deeper issue that you wouldn't have a lot of the illegality of drugs if you had a different attitude towards users, that it's a spiritual problem, it's a moral problem, not necessarily a criminal problem. But with prohibition comes gangs. We saw that with alcohol and with Al Capone and with the rise of the mob through that. And that, of course, fueled the demand for the Gun Control Act of 1934, was it? So that we got all kinds of restrictions on the right to keep bear arms resulting from that. The bottom line is, by equating gun ownership with being in the same bucket as cartels, you're doing a tremendous disservice to the right to keep bear arms. I would say that just because one is an enumerated right, though, we need to be very careful how we say something like that, because, again, we all know that the Constitution does not give us the right. Okay, so just because something is not mentioned doesn't mean that that the Constitution has the power to ban it either. And I know I'm kind of wandering off the path right here with this.
I think we're all following you.
Okay, I don't want to get too far off the path, but the bottom line is that the way that it was put together, Gun Owners of America, is absolutely right.
Yeah, let's go to number two. I'm just going to, the brilliance of David Codrea, ladies and gentlemen, just let that stand. Number two, ATF access to DEA resources would more than triple the gun control budget. Well, wait a minute. We've talked about on this program how great it is. I've talked about it with Mr. Gottlieb and many others. How great it is that Trump is going to slash the ATF budget. But is he? If they're being merged with DEA? Let's read that again. ATF access to DEA resources would more than triple the gun control budget. A closer look at the agency's comparative resources only underscores the recent Trump budget concerns. At present, ATF has some 5,000 employees and a $1.5 billion budget. But the DEA has twice that, boasting some 10,000 employees and a whopping $3.3 billion budget. ATF has 25 field divisions and operates in 8 other countries. DEA has many times that, with 241 domestic offices in 23 divisions throughout the U.S. and 91 foreign offices in 68 countries. Even if an ATF DEA merger might achieve some measure of efficiency, which is what Bondi was saying. We'll take this to the break. We come back, we'll get David's comments. This temporary victory may come at the cost of future tyranny. Let me reread that. Even if an ATF DEA merger might achieve some measure of efficiency, and I repeat again, that's what Bondi was talking about in the hearings. This temporary victory may come at the cost of future tyranny. And that's what David and I were alluding to in the first segment of the program. It's the future Democrats you have to be concerned with, and I believe the GOA is very well aware of that. That's why they said at the cost of future tyranny. When we come back, we'll continue to break this down. There's a lot to be worried about here, ladies and gentlemen. Is it good, bad, or ugly? You'll make the call. You're listening. You can make up your own mind. I think you know how we feel about it. We'll be right back. What's up, boys and girls? That thing runs out of water back there, and it gets gets hot quick. New toys. How you hanging in there, Greg? Tell everybody how you're doing.
I'm doing fine. Glad they got the AC fixed yesterday.
Oh, God, no kidding, right?
Yeah, it was 83 degrees in the operations center. So today it was back down to its usual 70.
Shanto come running in and then bolt out? We talked
He's
about
not here
yesterday.
yet.
Okay.
But we're at 90 degrees and we're getting rained on.
It's all right.
Texas is just sweating. That's all it is.
It happens. Finally hitting a NASCAR race this year.
I haven't been to one of those in many years.
Yeah, Ryan Petty and I are going to hit Talladega with one of the race teams. Guys, come back to you in about 15 seconds.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show indeed. Mark Walters in the 6 Hour Studios with you, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here on the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center, on the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone. And as you know, it's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. You can join the NRA today. 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, life. Get a cool gift. Use the AAR promo code. You can click that link if you're watching on your devices or your television sets. You can click on that link, join NRA today. It will take you right to nra.org/AAR, and that will automatically take you to our landing page, and you get those benefits and says, hey, thanks for joining the National Rifle Association, and thanks for supporting AAR at the same time. We hope that you do that. Early next week, I'll be announcing a great new promotion, and there's only going to be 750 of these things available for you. So you're going to want to jump in there because they're going to go quick. We'll tell you more about that next week. In the meantime, join the NRA, please. We need you out there, and part of what we're talking about here today is why. David Codrea, welcome back. Let's keep the conversation going. I found it interesting because we were talking in a positive way about how great it is to slash that ATF budget. It really is a great idea. Great news. But now we're going to combine it with the DEA that's 10 times the size. So how good is it? It kind of talking out both sides of the mouth, isn't it here?
I have $100 in my wallet. Doesn't mean that I don't have money in a different pocket or in a bank account or something like that, and it's all mine and I can access it. So does it really matter which pocket it's in? And, another thing that comes to mind, and I haven't looked into this, so I could just be talking out the side of my mouth here, Mark. But we take a look at like when they went to restore rights, and they removed the language about ATF being the authority to do it, to be able to slip it past. I don't know that the prohibition against keeping a database or anything like that would apply to an agency like DEA. Do you?
I don't, but my guess would be it wouldn't.
I don't mean to cause anybody to jump to a conclusion here. I'm asking a question because, quite candidly, I don't know. But when I heard you talking, that thought just came to my mind, and I thought, well, I might as well blurt it out now that we're having a discussion. Maybe somebody out there can give us the answer.
That's definitely something to consider. And yet again, the GOA gets just hits the hammer right smack on the nail when they said this temporary victory may come at the cost of future tyranny, contrary to Democrats' histrionics. President Trump is not the last president this country will have. It is all but certain that a Democrat will return to the White House in the future, and when one does, the foundation for unprecedented gun control will have been laid. Indeed, it is unlikely a future administration will share the same enforcement objectives as the current administration. What will happen when drug trafficking is declared no longer a priority and shared resources all shift to tackling quote-unquote gun violence? Boy, I don't know. I mean, I trust the Democrats not to do that, David, don't you?
Yeah, just look what happened in the New York primary for New York City.
New York City is getting close to electing a Muslim socialist. It's unbelievable. And at this point, let them.
And look at the No Kings rallies that we had across the country. With all the people that were coming out. And essentially what it reminds me of from the book of Exodus is how the Israelites, were freed from the plagues, had the miracles. Moses goes up to the mountain, and the first minute his back is turned, they worship a golden calf. And that's what these people remind me of.
It's pretty scary stuff. And the gun owners of America has given us something to think about in ways that we've touched on, but I don't think we quite went as deep as they did. While we did, we talked about it in the first segment, but here it is laid out by the GOA in no uncertain terms, and maybe expanding on the context of what we're talking about it in. And as case in point, this question in number 2, what will happen when drug trafficking is declared no longer a priority and shared resources all shift to tackling gun violence? Of course, I'm speaking, sarcastically when I say, well, I trust the Democrats not to do that. I mean, come on. They all say they respect the Second Amendment. This would be handing them a smorgasbord on steroids, a cruise ship endless buffet. Number 3, a merger would militarize more federal agents against law-abiding Americans. In a rare example of modern bipartisan consensus, many on the political left and right agree that the militarization of law enforcement agencies poses a serious threat to liberty. But few have discussed what a combined ATF DEA agency would look like. At present, ATF has 5 special response teams, CERTs, elite tactical groups, with 114 total team members. But DEA has 3 times that, with 20 SRTs and 325 total team members. In other words, DOJ's proposed ATF DEA merger could effectively triple the size of ATF, triple the number of federal agents tasked with enforcing the nation's gun laws, quadruple the number of heavily armed militaristic SWAT teams ready to batter in the doors of American gun owners, and cause an unprecedented militarization of domestic gun control operatives. Now, imagine what happened to the airport executive in Arkansas. And now imagine there being 4 times those agents willing to do the bidding, as the ATF showed us they were willing to do under the previous administration in a future Democrat administration, David. Scary as all hell, bro.
2 things come to mind. One was years ago I wrote an article about the Battle of Athens, Tennessee, when the veterans from World War II stopped the corrupt police department from controlling the ballot and electing a corrupt politician, and the veterans were able to take over and keep that from happening. Imagine if they had MRAPs and if they had all these federal weaponry that was going on. And the other thing to remember is that Waco started off as a failed ATF operation. What did they do when they failed it? They called in the big guns from the FBI. We know how that ended.
Yeah, oh boy. I wish we had time. We could talk about that all day long.
Oh yeah. I mean, and Mark, we're up to point 3, and we got 12 points to go through, and we're almost 3/4 of the way through the program, and so before we get out of here, okay, do in the last segment call on me to make a final point, please.
I will definitely call on you. Just make sure to raise your hand so I can see you in the front row. All right? Make sure you do that. Number 4, we're going to try to get through these guys. We're likely not, but we're going to try our best. We'll move quickly. ATF would gain unprecedented intelligence and surveillance capabilities. If ATF and DEA were to merge, many of ATF's existing resources simply would be dialed up by 10. For example, what ATF does not have, but no doubt wishes it did, is DEA's intelligence program, boasting an office with nearly 700 intelligence analysts tasked with collecting and processing intel on enforcement targets. Now, if you can imagine what happened in Arkansas and a weaponized ATF wanting to do that to more people but don't have the intelligence to do it, and all of a sudden do have the intelligence. Wow. Again, David, frightening stuff. Take that one and we'll move on to number 5.
No, I got nothing to add. Please go.
Number 5, merging ATF with DEA was whose idea? Al Gore's idea. All right, now, do I have to go any farther? If you're a longtime listener to the program, you know my disdain for that wooden piece of garbage. But the mere fact that Al Gore wanted to do it, the sort of merger DOJ is now proposing is nothing new. In fact, it is precisely what Democrats have attempted in the past. In 93, big government control freak and VP Al Gore proposed merging ATF, DEA, and FBI into a single agency, which the then DEA chief, Robert Bonner, opposed as a serious mistake. Then AG Janet Reno similarly declined to support the initiative, even though she would have been tapped to head the super agency. The Trump administration should seriously question whether giving these sorts of Democrats what they originally wanted is in gun owners' best interest. If a man is judged by the company he keeps, the answer should be clear. The answer to that is a whopping, flat-out no, David. But, a lot of people don't realize that. That goes way back. But I do remember when they did want to create that super agency, and I'm old enough to remember Janet Reno, when she would have headed it. And to this day, I look back in hindsight as we go to the break. We'll get to number 6. We're halfway through. We'll move fast, I promise, ladies and gentlemen. I wonder why she didn't want to head that agency. That would have given her a tremendous amount of power. Anyway, when we come back from the break, we're going to continue down the list of 12 here from the Gun Owners of America. We'll start with, again, when we come back with number 6, because it's been a wish list for years. I'll tease it now. An ATF merger has been on the anti-gun activist wish list for years. The anti-gun activists wish list for years. That would mean all the Bloomberg-funded groups. If they're wishing for it, you got to ask why, and how could that possibly be in your best interest as a lawful, as David says, peaceable American gun owner? I can promise you it's not. We'll be right back. One more segment to go.
Yeah, we flew into Miami.
Yeah, you can do that too and then make the drive, but why make the 6-hour drive when you can just fly right into Key West?
Yep.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back indeed. 6-hour studios fired up for you. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom here. You are on the Armed American Radio Network, and we are in front of the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone. And the Attorneys on Retainer program, ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm going to tell you every single day, no-brainer. If you carry a gun, why would you not do this? It doesn't make sense not to. If you have a gun, you anticipate that you may, sadly, someday need it to defend your lives. If that event ever unfolds, as unlikely as it is, if it ever unfolds, it can destroy your life, no matter how innocent you are, if you have to spend out-of-pocket money for an attorney because there's an investigation. Nothing's cut and dry in real life like you go through hypothetically in your mind, ladies and gentlemen. You may have known, you know you did right. But boy, you got an overzealous prosecutor, somebody wants to come after you, you're going to lose everything. You can stop that in its tracks by simply visiting attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. Takes care of it instantly. $25 ahead. Save $50 by using the AAR promo code attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. You can visit it right from the site. Takes you right there. And guess what happens? $50 off your sign-up fee, $35 individual plan, $25 a month for a family plan, which is what I have. And I just paid the $25. Just got billed automatically just today and yesterday. Two of them. All of them came in at one time. Bam. I don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it either. Fix that problem. Worry about something else in your life. Having to go through that hassle is not a concern anymore. Attorneysonretainer.us. And by the way, you can visit all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. Don't forget barrelbuddy.com. We got a promo code coming up for those guys. Pitch the patch, clean your guns the right way. All of our partners are over there, including Ammo Squared, Stack Up, Emerson Knives. They're all there. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. David, as we're in the break, I get an email from Alan Gottlieb wanting to make sure that I saw the press release that the SAF just put out regarding what we're talking about. SAF voices concern over ATF/DEA merger in letter to Attorney General. And here's what Executive Director Adam Kraut had to say. It should come as no surprise that the ATF has not been a friendly agency when it comes to upholding the Second Amendment rights of peaceable citizens, David. There you go. And I'm reading this right out. That's from Adam Kraut. You used the word peaceable earlier, not law-abiding. Their actions have caused chaos for federal firearms licensees. They have repeatedly wrongfully accused lawful gun owners. And worst of all, their aggressive tactics have caused deaths over perceived infractions. To merge the ATF with the DEA would increase their size and budget at a minimum, exponentially expanding their reach and resources. So, good heavens, everybody's on board with the way we're approaching this, David. Not a good thing. Do you think it will? Do you think it will get the ear of the AG and the administration? Because I know Alan Gottlieb, he has the White House's ear. I know that. So, if it doesn't, not sure what that means.
Well, that gets to the point that I wanted to make. Do you want to go through the final points quickly? Because
yes,
I'm sure I'll agree substantively with what you have to say, but I want to have a minute towards the end of the program to be able to say what I want to say.
You are raising your hand. We're going to call on you in just a second. Let me call on you in just a second. Let me go through the 6. An ATF merger has been on the anti-gun activist wish list for years. We already covered that while we read it. Past ATF, this is number 7, DEA cooperation resulted in colossal failure. Does Fast and Furious ring a bell? Oh. 8, blurring the lines between ATF and more popular agencies would insulate ATF from criticism. Number 9, an ATF DEA merger would undermine government accountability. Number 10, an ATF DEA merger would dilute the political power of gun owners, subordinating their interests to those of Big Pharma. Interesting. Number 11, a merger would waste precious time that would be better spent implementing the president's agenda. Spot on. And number 12, any subsequent claim that ATF has been abolished through merger would give rhinos an excuse to do nothing. And that's what I love about the GOA. They make no bones about the rhinos in office, and we all know who they're talking about. David, I see you have your, David in the front row has his hand up. David, Go ahead, David.
Okay. All of this, we've talked before about how DOJ is bipolar on the Second Amendment. In one case, you'll see like Harmeet Dillon do a perfectly wonderful thing, like file an amicus brief against the assault weapon ban, quote unquote, in Illinois. Which is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for DOJ to come in here and protect the right to keep and bear arms, as Pam Bondi promised in her April 8th memo that she was going to do, that the Second Amendment was not going to be a second-class right, and that DOJ was going to proactively protect the Second Amendment. Where we're failing, though, is we see moves like this. We see moves like a DOJ attorney saying machine guns aren't protected under the Second Amendment. We see bipolarity coming from these people, and I submit that much of this could have been avoided, including this latest merger proposal, had a suggestion that I put out a year ago been heeded by the big gun groups. And I hope that you can use whatever influence you have, and that GOA comes on board with this. If they've got this task force, okay, this DOJ Second Amendment task force, every member of this task force is a member of the government. They all get their paycheck from the same people. We're not going to see radical change coming from these folks that is going to be consistent with what our gun owner representatives have, as is evidenced by this GOA memo. And I think that on this task force, unless and until there is representation from the Second Amendment community on this task force, we're going to continue to see this, because had this been discussed in the task force with our leaders, our gun rights leaders, then they would have quickly been able to put the kibosh on this and come through these reasons for them before the committee then said, we ought to go forward with this, or maybe we're thinking wrongly and we're going to get a lot of people mad at us if we continue to do this. And I can't emphasize strongly enough that gun owners deserve and should demand seats on that task force to keep stuff like this from happening in the future.
Yeah, but if we had that seat and we were able to put the kibosh on it, as you said, then we wouldn't have anything to talk about today, David.
Yeah, well, I'd rather be able to talk about something else, okay?
Yeah, so let me ask you this as we get ready to close out the hour. And again, I wish we had an hour to just do this. But what does it say about Pam Bondi? I'll tell you what I think it is. I don't think Pam Bondi is working under the table to undermine our Second Amendment rights in some weird conspiracy way. I just think she's naive. I think she believes this is a good idea because she hasn't thought it through, because she doesn't know how to think it through in the ways that we know how to think it through, in the terms and the frames of the National Rifle Association, the Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation, the list of those 60 activists, the names that I'm on that they've never talked to about this, that should have. I just think she's naive here, and I think she's getting an earful at this point. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out. You have 30 seconds. Go for it.
It would be interesting to see her get educated, and she's not going to get educated as long as the only voices coming to her are coming from within the government. And if this task force included strong representation from the gun owner community, we would see a lot of this stuff nipped in the bud.
You better believe it. David, tell people where they can go read all your stuff, brother.
WarOnGuns.com, WarOnGuns.com. It's the clearinghouse for all my stuff that appears on AmmoLand, in American Handgunner, and Firearms News.
David Codrea, thank you, brother. We love you for a reason. David Codrea, long-time contributor, going back 16, 17 years with this program, ladies and gentlemen. He is the real deal. Make sure to check him out at waronguns.com, and that will link to everything. You can read the blurbs over there and then connect to him through that page. And believe me, nobody raps their prose about the Second Amendment quite like David Codrea does. Brilliant is what is the word that comes to mind. Thank you, David, for everything that you do and for participating on this program for so many years. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get up and do it again tomorrow on Thursday, the day after Garbage Day here at the ranch. And until we meet on the radio tomorrow, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would have ever been caught outside his cave without his club. Don't be that one disarmed caveman. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow, guys. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it very much. It's a compelling conversation. No doubt we're going to have more discussion about this probably throughout the rest of the week. I want to get some take on this from some of our guests coming up throughout the week, but no doubt on Sunday, I want to talk with Alan Gottlieb about this. I've reached out to the NRA, see if we can have John Comerford from the NRA ILA join us on the program to give us the take from the 800-pound gorilla in the room, that being the National Rifle Association. So we'll hear from them. And also want to get a hold of somebody, maybe get Eric on the program from the Gun Owners of America to talk about this. While it's the same topic, each of these individuals has a different perspective that they bring to the table, and we want you to hear every one of them. So, guys, stay safe. Enjoy your day. Thanks for being here. See you on the radio tomorrow, guys.